What's up guys, my name is Dazz and welcome back to Motor Tic Mastery. I recently had an email from one of my students for my online course for the MTM method of healing tics and Tourette's in a natural way. And he asked me the question, what are triggers? How do I find my triggers? What do I do when I understand what my triggers are? How do triggers affect my tic and tics? And what can I do about my triggers? So in this video I would like to share a few thoughts on this concept of triggers in relation to the ticking that we find in chronic tic conditions, Tourette's, nervous twitches and the like. So if you've been watching this channel for a while, I've been doing this for a good 9 months, sharing my thoughts and ideas and practices about letting go of this condition. I had it for 20 years, a chronic complex motor tic all the way down the right hand side of my body. And I healed it in a natural way by using practices from the East and Western psychology to still the mind, relax the body, reset the nervous system. And now there's this place of calmness. I have much better mental and emotional health. So triggers. So as we're going through our life, we might be ticking a lot, or maybe some days we're not ticking much at all. The word trigger we use to relate to something that happens that triggers and makes us tick. Now at the beginning of my journey of figuring out and understanding and making sense of why is my body doing all these crazy ticking movements of the neck or the wrist or my eye or whatever it might be. I had lots of different ones over the 20 years, it kind of moved. So on my journey of trying to figure it out, I learned this idea of triggers. And when someone said, well, what are your triggers? Well, what's your triggers? What are your triggers for your body moving? I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand what they were talking about. You know, I was looking online, they're talking about, what are your triggers? I don't know. I tick all the freaking time. There are no triggers. right? I'm ticking all the time, like thousands of times every day. It's like just being alive is one big freaking trigger. And maybe you can relate to this. It's like, yeah, how can I possibly understand when I tick, when I'm always ticking? Tick here, tick there, look there, where am I? It's too much. So the first point I'm trying to get across is the fact that you might not be aware of your triggers right now. That doesn't mean they don't exist, okay? Like, it might be that I didn't have triggers, they happen all the time, it's all the freaking time. I want you to know that you do have triggers, they are in your unconscious mind, but you might not be consciously aware of what those triggers are yet. And you don't necessarily need to know every single one of the triggers to heal this condition either. But having a curious mind to explore when and why you might be moving your body more or less, or when you might be having information of tics in certain periods of the day or certain times of the year or around certain people, is a positive thing to explore, but not to get stressed about it. I must find out the answers to the triggers. Why is this happening? So triggers exist. They're a real thing, even if we don't initially or can initially understand what they are. Okay. So next up, so once we get our mind, body and soul, in a sense, to a place where we can start being aware of, oh, I'm more uncomfortable, I tick more when I'm in front of the computer screen, or I tick more when I'm at home with my husband or wife, or I tick more when I'm on the commute after a long day at work, or I tick more when there's loud music. This is one of the examples that my one of the students asked me on the course, Adam, and that's what inspired me to create this video actually. And yeah, there's many different triggers out there, and you can start observing. Okay, I'm usually more uncomfortable in myself, more stressed, more anxious, more worried, more tics happening when I am in certain situations, or I'm thinking about certain things, or I haven't had a holiday in 6 months, so I really need to get away now. You know, there's many different triggers. It could be a creation. Anxiety is essentially when the ego is holding two positions, which are of opposing positions, and so you don't actually know then what you should do. You know, that causes anxiety in the system, where you got to kind of explode. So triggers can be from anxiety too, from an anxiety of certain stories, and thus the tic happens. So you can start being curious now, okay? So at the beginning, it might be that you don't know what the triggers are, and you're going crazy, and your body's is like completely out of whack. And over time, as you improve your awareness, and you improve your ability to be more still in the mind, so you can see what's going on, and these are the practices that I teach in the MTM method. And once you learn to more slow down the mind and body, you can then observe what's going on with more fidelity. And when you observe with what's going on with more fidelity, you can start tuning in and noticing where the patterns are, and noticing why the tics are happening. So once we get to that point, once we start noticing what the triggers are, right? Whenever I'm around this particular friend who just moans at me all the time, it makes my body go out of whack, you know? I bring lightfulness and playfulness to my movements. Definitely not to mock, right? But to help you see that it doesn't have to be so serious and so painful and so terrible. Because I know it is, I've been there, like the embarrassment of this condition and the frustration that sort of builds up inside of ourselves, and the cycling stories that goes on our mind. Why can't I get out of this freaking loop? Sorry to swear, I don't want to swear on YouTube. And so, but that's one way of relating to the depth of the pain, right, is using swear words. But I don't encourage you to do it. So this tic happens, and we're noticing around this person or in these situations, or when I'm thinking about a certain thing, or when I'm worrying about stuff, or when I'm thinking forward, I'm thinking ahead and planning. That's when I'm worried and anxious. That was certainly the case for me. Or maybe I'm thinking back to stories of the past, and those stories make me worry because it might happen again. You know, there's so many different ways our ego, so many tricks that our ego makes us go into, to makes us anxious and makes us stressed. It's nuts. It's just an endless list. But once we've started identifying, okay, once we started identifying those triggers, then there's like, okay, this is interesting, we're in a good place. Now there's a relationship between the tic and things happening, either on the outside world or in my mind. What next? So we've identified the triggers. What do we do now? And I love this question. I really love this email from Adam, because now we're getting to like some really beautiful, deep teachings. And now we're getting to the understanding too, that the tic is connected to emotions. Okay? And that might be a leap to take for some people watching this video now, so I'm going to break it down a little bit more. So the tic, the body moving, is a manifestation, is a creation, right, of the body, the emotional body, this physical body, the body which feels, right, feelings, emotions, feelings, okay? The ticking is a representation of something that is uncomfortable in the body, an emotion, a feeling that is uncomfortable. I'm ticking because I'm uncomfortable about something. Some emotion wants to be seen. Some part of me wants to be witnessed. some of those quite wonderful spiritual teachers out there, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head right now, but they often, when you really go deep into these teachings, you realize and you see that the greatest relationship you have in the world isn't with your partner or your spouse or your mom or your dad, it's with yourself. And a lot of us have completely forgotten about the nurturing of the relationship to self, because we've lost connection to spirit is a bit of a loose word, but connection to like a soft connection to an understanding, an inquisitive understanding of our subtle emotional body. And as we tune into that, especially men, like emotions and men, those two things don't go hand in hand, right? We're not allowed to feel emotions. Men are supposed to just get on with it, you know, man up. It's really messed up teaching in our society, in our culture. Yet our feelings and our emotions are intimately, intrinsically us. It's the first thing that we feel. It's the first thing that happens before we think. And if you think that you only think and not feel, it's probably why you have the tic, because you're not allowing yourself to feel, and the body's crying out for attention. It's like, look at me. It's like, come on, look at me. Like, I need you to focus on me. I need you to look at me. Come back to the body, my friend. So, the tic is intrinsically connected to suppressed emotions and feelings that we're not allowing ourselves to see. And so what do we do? And when the question came into me from Adam, what do we do once we know what the triggers are? In short, we allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel when we are triggered. And the importance of this statement, it runs deep. Whole books and teachings and stories and texts and movies are based on this one sentence. All we need to do is allow ourselves to feel what is behind the uncomfortableness of the trigger. So, let's try and unpack it a little bit more here. We are triggered. Let's say loud music as one of the examples that came up. What do we do? Like, my body's going out of whack on me, I'm triggered, there's really loud music. I could run away. It's one option. I could just get away from the thing that triggers me. Okay? Sometimes that's needed. So be it, you know? Sometimes if it's so intense, my body is going crazy, I just need to get the hell out of here. Maybe you need to physically just move yourself. That's one way of not being triggered. Well, ultimately, you and I know we can't live our lives just running away from things that trigger us, because they are intimately part of just everyday life, often. Other people, for example. Social anxiety is a big part of this tic, often, and our triggers are usually other people or other people's emotional states when we're around them, and so we can't just run away from people. I mean, we could go and live in a cave for the rest of our life, find enlightenment that way, maybe. But ultimately we want to learn how to deal with the feelings, the trigger that's happening there and then, right? And so we've identified our trigger. It's loud music. My body's going out of whack. What do? I feel it. So how do I feel it? How do I feel the uncomfortableness? The body's moving. Why am I ticking more? I'm getting really frustrated. My body's moving. My whole shoulder's like ticking like this. What do I do now? Learning how to feel again isn't as easy as flicking a switch. Learning to feel again and feeling where you are suppressing your feelings in your body takes some time. That is the healing journey. That is learning to become embodied, learning presence, learning the art of emotion and sensation, and slowing down our mind so we can feel into the body. But there's many parts to this. And so I'd love to tell you that, you know, all you have to do is just pop this pill and magic, you can feel again. It's not quite like that. But I'm sharing with you here the guide of how to go into it. And so what I do as one of the first teachings in the MTM method is I just teach a basic way for you to come back to the body. And the one way, the one consistent model, the one consistent practice that goes back eons, that allows you to go into your body, something that's always with you, is your breath. Your breath is my little dongly thing is having a panic there. So it's just the breath. So you feel the breath. And this sounds so utterly, ridiculously simple that you might think I'm taking you for a ride, or I'm having a laugh, or this won't work for me, or it must be more difficult than that. And I know most of you are thinking those things now, because I used to think those things when I was in your position 5 years ago. By the way, it doesn't take 5 years to let go of this condition. It can happen much, much faster. Because you have a guide. I never had a guide. I was fumbling around with lots of different stuff. That's if you want to carry on watching these videos or do the course or whatever it might be. You come back to the breath. Because our mind is chatting away. It's like blah, 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 this thing, that thing, forward, future, what I'm going to do, blah, 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 like our mind is all over the place. Oh, breath. Breath, yes, breath, yes. And with the breath, the feelings of your chest, your stomach moving, like the sensation in the back of your throat, the nostril tickling as the breath goes in and out. You've got all those sensations. It brings your awareness out from out there in the thought world into here. And so this is just one of the first tools that I teach in order to help you learn to feel again. Because as we've just discovered, ticking is a manifestation of unfelt feelings. Feelings are things that we've ignored or pushed down or have been too difficult for us to feel since we were very young because it overwhelmed us, or we were told we weren't allowed to feel, or we had to just get on with it. Or nobody was there to actually connect to us when we were feeling something so painful because we didn't have maybe caregivers that could connect to us at that particular level of vibration. It doesn't matter what the reason. The point is that if we have a tic, we have suppressed emotions. That is the one thing that is consistent across everybody that I've spoken to with this condition. And once we start connecting to them and allowing us to quieten the mind, we can release them. And it is by just coming back into the body and noticing the body and starting to feel the body, you realize, wow, I feel, I don't feel very well. That tic is happening because there's an uncomfortable feeling. And then we start realizing that, oh wow, that trigger in the external world, whether it's that person there or that music there or that commute here or whatever it may be, in a sense is a blessing, because it's helping you see that you have something stuck in you. You have an emotion that's been pushed down, ignored, your body's twitching like crazy, and there's something beyond the body. So something beyond the tic, deeper, that just wants to be seen, just wants to be felt. And when you feel it and allow yourself to feel that, oh, that feels really horrible, there's like anger there. And we've been told we're not allowed to feel anger. Anger's bad. Don't feel anger. But feelings are feelings. When you actually allow yourself to feel them, and it's really uncomfortable feeling some of the stuff that can come up when you slow down. Once you allow yourself to feel it and breathe with it, the feelings are just ripples. They are like ripples in the ocean. They'll just ripple past. And beyond it, it's just like a bit of lightness. Beyond it is just a clearing. You'll realize that, well, something's just gone and I feel a bit better. Excuse me. And that's all it is. You identify the triggers and you use the opportunity when you are triggered to either one, run away, or two, be still, focus on the breath, and feel. And you will notice time and time again, that those feelings will just pass, and you no longer need to run away from them. And the more times that you do that in your day-to-day life, just allowing yourself to feel, bit by bit, the tic slows down. The tic just melts, because the tic is just a messenger from the body to you. And so there we have it for triggers in a nutshell. At first you won't think there are any triggers because you're so overwhelmed with it and it's just happening all the time. But once you learn some very simple practices and weave them into your life of mindfulness and embodiment and awareness, learning to be still with ourselves, you learn to notice where the tic comes from. And then we start allowing ourselves to feel where it comes from. And those feelings don't serve you anymore. Those feelings can go. Those feelings melt away. Because your body has this intelligence and it doesn't want them in there. It's just because your ego has stopped yourself from seeing them and it pushes them down. It's like, no, I don't want to see them. I'm going to watch television and play computer games and look at the news and hang out with friends and get away from people and not really talk about the few feelings that are like really inside me and I'm really scared. Like we don't. We push them down. Especially in the West. Especially in Britain. Definitely the US as well. Canada and Australia all have very similar vibes. Slightly different accents. So, that's a pretty long video for my channel. Usually they are shorter than this, but I really hope I went into something good then for y'all. That was American. I'm a British guy. So there we have it for triggers and a breakdown. If you have any questions about triggers, drop some comments below in the message spot below, and I'll happily answer those questions. Maybe I've missed something here or didn't clarify a particular aspect of this. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please ask me the questions. I'm here to support and help you on this journey that I've been through from having this condition for 20 years, chronic complex tic, letting it go and going through this healing path, and I have much to share. So and if you have any more, maybe the questions that you ask, I can create more videos. Like I'd love to create a dialogue here. If you'd like to learn some of these exercises and practices, and to go deeper into these teachings and these concepts of how to let go of this condition, you can also check out the MTN method. I have a link below, I think, which should be a free 1-hour training, so I extend this, tell you a little bit more about my story, and on top of that I then have an online course as well. Oh, there's a lot of energy then. So you just saw me tick then, right? A very subtle energy that I just felt. And I can go deep into this in the future, in future videos. But okay, quite wonderful. Have an awesome day, everyone, and chat to you again very soon. Lots of love from India, which is where I am right now, and have a good day. Wish you the best on your journey of letting go of this condition in a natural way. You truly, really, honestly do not have to take those pharmaceutical medicines, because you and I know, if you watch this video to the end, that they're really bad for the body. So bad for the body. But sometimes we need to do these things, you know, to get us through periods of our life, and that's cool too, but we know they're bad for us. So, much love to you. Okay, take it easy. Ciao.